Excellent.
Good evening and welcome to the Village Board meeting for the Village Town of Mount Kisco for April 20th, 2015. I'd ask that you all rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just remain standing for a moment so we may reflect on why we are here. Ask for guidance in the decisions we make this evening that they may benefit all the people of our community. Thank you.
Oh, Jesus, I almost fell on the ground. Did you do that, Jerry?
The first item on the agenda is a request from the Memorial Day Parade Committee to hold their 2015 Memorial Day Parade on Saturday, May 30th. The parade lineup will be on Smith Avenue at some time between 3:30 and 4 o'clock, and we hope to get the parade to step off by approximately 4:15. The marches will proceed to the Village Memorial in Oakwood Cemetery. There'll be a short ceremony, and then the marching will commence. Right now, the parade will go up Smith Avenue onto Main Street, down Main Street, and to the War Memorial. The parade committee is inviting all of the past and members of elected officials to participate, and we're all looking forward to it. It's assigned by Donald Ford. One issue, there's been a few conflicts in the village with a lot of events going on Memorial Day, the traditional Memorial Day, which is Saturday, the 30th of May. The conflicts arise from there's a synagogue on Smith Avenue. Smith Avenue, they're having an event that apparently was scheduled for some time, so we're trying to accommodate them. The parade was originally scheduled for earlier in the day. We're trying to shoehorn the parade in so it fits and doesn't conflict with any events, including the event at Beth Torah Synagogue, but also with the 5:30 Mass at St. Francis. We think we've arrived at a time to accomplish this, and what is a key component is if the parade steps off on time. So I'm going to make a motion to approve the Memorial Day Parade for Saturday, May 30th. Again, the assembly will be between 3:30 and 4. The parade will commence at, well, according to this latest printout that I think is going on the website.
This is the one that...
This 4:30.
It's, it says we're going to step off at 4:30. I hope we're going to step off at about 4:15. So that's my motion.
I'd like to second that motion. I love a parade.
Okay. Any comment? Any questions? Mr. Fiala?
Mayor Sindrich,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Marcus,
Aye.
Trustee Farber,
Aye.
Trustee Schlemmer,
Aye.
Trustee Grunthal.
Aye.
Thank you. The fire department had their annual convention. We've already acted on this at a special meeting. But the Mount Kisco Fire Department members have met in convention on Thursday, April 9th, in accordance with village law. The convention elected a board of fire chiefs. The secretary of the convention, Jan Johansson, submitted the recommendation to the Board of Fire Commissioners for approval and appointment. Attached, please find the resolution of the fire commissioners relative to the appointments of the fire chiefs. On Thursday, April 16th, 2015, the Mount Kisco Fire Department installed the Board of Fire Chiefs in a meeting held at the Green Street Firehouse. As I said previously, we've already acted on this, but I'll just read it into the record. The appointment of the chiefs goes as follows. The chief of the department is Mario Muscioli. First assistant chief is Al Buetti. The second assistant chief is John Bodie, and the third assistant chief is David Hughes. There are other convention reports, and there is a resolution of the election of the fire chiefs that will be part of the record. I don't think we have to take any action on this, and the voting delegates were Anthony Prignitano from the Rescue Fire Police, Richard Aserio from Union Hook and Ladder, Joe Corsi from the Mutual Engine and Hose, and Raymond Zakari Jr. from the Independent Fire Company. I don't think. I can announce that the elected delegates are William Fletcher Jr., Paul Felice, and Joe Corsi for the 2015 Annual Chiefs Convention. And the alternate delegates are Tom Murphy, Mike Manila, and Jim Johnson. And this is all in accordance with the rules and regulations of the Mount Kisco Fire Department and also the laws of the state of New York. Is there anything else, Jerry?
That was all.
Okay, thank you. Okay, village manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a few quick items here tonight. We've received a letter dated April 9th, 2015 from HUD regarding the Housing Choice Voucher Program and the administrative fees associated with that program. Currently, the Section 8 program in the village is run by Habitat, as well as our affordable housing project on Carpenter Avenue. However, in this study here, they're discussing predominantly the administrative fees associated with the Section 8 program. And what they are finding is the study is confirming what they think to be true, and that is that the administrative fees do not meet the reasonable cost of administering the program. As such, they are estimating, they feel that their fee only covers about 77% of the true cost of the program. They have indicated that they're completing their study. They have about 92% of the public housing authorities that have responded, and they're hoping to have the results of this produced for circulation by the end of April. The purpose for advising the board of this is that this is a pending issue regarding the processing of our Section 8 program in the village. As soon as we hear this information from HUD, we'll be sharing it with the board for the board to take whatever action is necessary. I'm pleased to announce that we received from the County of Westchester notification that on Friday, April 24th, from 10 a.m. in the morning to 1 p.m., that the county will have their mobile shredder at the Fox Senior Center located at 198 Carpenter Avenue. Residents are encouraged to come and bring the documents that they'd like to shred that should not be just tossed in the garbage in order to prevent the identity theft. Specifically, documents involving credit card transactions, expired credit card statements, receipts, old tax returns, and other personal documents containing name, address, serial number, social security number, date of birth, etc. The 2015 county tax bills have been mailed out to our residents. Payment is due Thursday, April 30th, without any penalty. If you have not received a tax bill within the next few days, please contact Joanne Saratani at the Receiver of Taxes Office. Her number is 864-0034, or you can email her at taxreceiver@mountkisco.org. Again, this is for just the County of Westchester property tax. And the last issue I'd like to mention is that the Village Water Department will start its hydrant flushing program on April 20th, which is actually tonight. We will be flushing water distribution system beginning tonight and continue for approximately 4 weeks. Flushing is done regularly Monday through Friday between the hours of 8:45 a.m. and through 3 p.m. We regret any inconvenience that may have caused as a result of the flushings. You might experience some dirty water or some sedimentation, but if you do, just let the water run for a little bit and it will clear up. This is a requirement of the village under the health law, and it is also one of our requirements for the ISO categorization for insurance. That is all I have, Mr. Mayor, at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Board reports. Trustee Grunthal.
2 reports, Mayor. Firstly, just to continue with the Solarize program, Solarize Bedford Mount Kisco. We're continuing with this program. It will run till early in June. It is the program under which incentives are offered to our residents, in fact, in 8 communities right across Westchester County, to look into the whole issue of having solar panels on their roofs for generating electricity. As I've said before, and I'll say it again, this has now become something which is economically viable. And for those who are interested, there will be a meeting at the Boys and Girls Club of Northern Westchester tomorrow evening, Tuesday, at 7 p.m. And anybody interested in signing up for a consultation and for hearing a short presentation should certainly come. They will be welcome. And secondly, Mayor, we are continuing with the microgrid initiative. That is the possibility of developing a microgrid, a community microgrid in Mount Kisco to give us protection and more resiliency in our electrical currents in the event of serious flooding, storm damage, etc. We have got to the point now where we have selected Booz Allen and Hamilton, which is an international consulting firm of excellence, to be our consultants in this process. They are assisting us in writing a proposal to New York State for grants for a feasibility study in the first place, and if everything works out, then for assistance with a microgrid. That's coming along, and we're at the point now where we're going to be speaking with a few people asking for letters of support. That's where we are, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Trustee Schleimer?
Yeah, I have a very short report this evening. I did attend the Little League parade on Saturday, but I will defer to Trustee Farber, who always reports on these things and does such a great job. The only thing I wanted to let everybody know about is on Wednesday, May 6th, there will be a salute to seniors, which is held at the Westchester County Center from 9:30 to 2:30. It's an annual event. There's entertainment. They serve lunch. There are 90 vendors who offer all sorts of support services and information of value to seniors. There's also free health screening, and there will be a representative of New York State who will help people process requests for unclaimed funds that have gone to New York State from inactive accounts. This is a tremendous service, and certainly people have been amazed to find, we had someone who last year got $68,000 that they didn't know was missing. So the fair is, you know, it's a great event. It's wonderful information. It's information for caregivers. It's information about electric. It's information about all of the support health services, long-term care, you name it, it's there, and it's a free event. They provide free parking, and if you have interest or a need, it's a great place to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Trustee Farber?
Thank you. I, too, only have a couple of things I wanted to say. Again, it's got to start out with the parade, because this past weekend was perfect for a parade. And we really had so much fun marching down Main Street for the Little League parade. And as Karen said, it was just terrific seeing all the kids with their different colored uniforms, with their parents, coaches, and families. The Mount Kisco Fife and Drum Corps led the way. And Mayor Sindridge, you pitched the first ball, did a great job, the opening ball, and the weather was absolutely perfect, signaling that spring is really here. There's also a new sign that has just gone up for, from the Mount Kisco Historical Society. It's identifying the St. Mark's St. George Cemetery. Thank you, Lori Kimsel, for spearheading the design and making it happen. So now we have a very formal, really lovely sign to indicate the historical cemetery. The newest New York State historical marker was also just installed in Mount Kisco. The marker identifying the Spencer Optical Company and the hamlet of Kirbyville. The sign is on East Main, not far from Route 128. The cast iron marker identifies Spencer Optical as one of the largest manufacturers of optical goods from 1874 to 1888. And again, this was the time it was referred to as Kirbyville. To learn more, please join the Mount Kisco Historical Society on Saturday, May 9th at 10 a.m. at the Mount Kisco Library to hear a really fascinating report and presentation on Spencer Optical and what it meant to the community. A huge thanks goes to local resident Madeline Kieran for applying for the grant to earn this marker for our town. And after such a rough winter, it's really great to ride around town now and see all the trees are full of buds and the sprucing up all over the village, including the gazebo on South Mosier. Please stop by and see the new, it's a cedar shake roof on the gazebo. It looks fantastic. And I know that Joe Lupino and the highway crew are doing a great job cleaning up everything for spring. And I can't wait for all the dogwoods to start bursting. That means everything is really here. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Gene. Deputy Mayor Marcus.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just want to report first that the Finance Committee did have their meeting on April 8th, 2015. Along the lines of what we continue to do is we supplement the village board or advise them and try to work with staff, the village manager, the treasurer, Joe Sarantani, we work and to try to see where we can save and where we can be efficient. One of the things that we looked at was the MEBCO, which is the health insurance consortium, which the village manager and the treasurer worked out. We're going to be able to save 7% on our premiums based upon a fund that we've had put into place for expenses. It's actually a 10% savings, but they're putting in a 3% buffer just so that we can be protected. This will be savings for the village and also for any contributions or many contributions by village employees. We're also continuing to look at debt service pay down. So in other words, when we have bonds that are callable or can be refinanced, we take a look to see whether or not we can get a better interest rate. The treasurer has been looking at that. We have one bond in particular that we're looking at. He informed us during the meeting that it isn't, he couldn't give us the exact details yet because I believe we have to wait until approximately June or July of this particular year, and then we'll have more information on that. We also took a look at the capital budgets, which was done very thoroughly by staff and also by the village board, but also the finance committee, where we have additional people that are in finance and accounting, took a look at it. One of the issues that we looked at was the LED lighting program, in which we actually get a return on our investment within a certain number of years. The question was whether or not we should accelerate that process to either save even more money, even though we would have to put in upfront funds at this point. So that's going to be looked into further, again along the lines of where we can save money and still provide services at the high level that we've been doing. Our next meeting will be on May 20th, and we'll be reporting on that after that meeting. Additionally, the mayor and I, actually it was really the mayor and Nan Miller from Partners of Prevention and I joined in the meeting. If you don't recall, the Partners Prevention is the program that was underwritten by a grant that was obtained for $500,000. Their program that they're engaged in is to help, is to focus on teenagers and adolescents and other youngsters that may be at risk of abusing drugs or alcohol, and also addressing issues as to their parents' education. They've been working very hard. I know that they've reported to this board and to the public on many occasions. One of the things that happened during this meeting was to try to see even more ways that the village board can work in conjunction with Partners in Prevention. Not that we are on the same team, but we're trying to even work more so. There's a tips line that's going to be being put into effect in case there needs to be an anonymous report to the police that something is happening or might be happening, so that an individual, a student, can call anonymously without being identified and can tell the police about something that they're concerned about. It could be anybody for that matter, and that person would never be revealed, or whether even not a report was made would be revealed. And again, this all goes along the lines of their mission statement to address alcohol and drug abuse, particularly in light of some of the recent efforts to legalize marijuana across the country, and to continue to be vigilant on this. They're also continuing to work on prescription take-back issues. The mayor is very well versed on this particular issue, having been very much involved as a police officer in issues with the DEA. And so he offered a lot of information on that. I'm not going to go into all the details on what's involved in prescription take-back, but basically the concept is to not have people leave prescription drugs that are either expired or no longer required to be left around their homes, and to actually dispose of them in a safe manner. And they were talking about a prescription take-back day. I don't know if that date is still formalized, so I'm going to hold off now on giving the date until I know it. But they're also talking about perhaps having possibly we're reviewing, we haven't necessarily concluded that we can do this or not. The mayor is going to look into a system whereby we might be able to have an ongoing receptacle for prescription take-back on a, not necessarily 24/7, but on a daily basis, so these things can be handled. But there's a lot of logistics in it. The mayor is very well versed on it, and he's going to be reporting back to Nan on that particular issue. So that, and of course the Little League Parade was great, and we also went to the 40th anniversary. So I'll let the mayor speak to a couple of points that that haven't been addressed.
I appreciate it. Sticking with that, is there anyone here from the county police that can talk about the anonymous tip line that's in place with that the county answers? And why I'm asking that is one of the issues with Partners in Prevention, their mission out there goes well beyond the geographical boundaries of Mount Kisco. And what they're looking to do is establish a anonymous tip line where house parties, youths having house parties where their parents aren't home, underage drinking, maybe on the trails or in on the golf course or behind the school, where those things are happening now, where some teenagers may want to report them because they don't want to get involved in alcohol and drug abuse, and other parents may want to report it, but they don't want to be labeled as being that person. I know Nan Miller has been in touch with the county police, and I know there is an anonymous tip line.
I think she got an email to us that she's
Yeah,
working on.
and it's something that we were, I was anticipating we may want to do it locally, but after talking to Nan Miller, this would basically cover our entire school district. So anybody here that knows, has any information? No, Lieutenant? No, nobody?
I know there's an anonymous email and anonymous text thing. I don't know.
Can you maybe come up and just give us a few words on that?
I really don't know.
Okay,
I can have somebody contact you with it.
Okay, great.
It's the one thing we didn't prepare tonight.
Okay, thank you. It's a work in progress. On the, I know the Nan Miller has been talking. The law has changed with getting rid of prescription drugs. You're actually allowed to go to a pharmacy. The pharmacies may not know how to accept prescription drugs that people want to dispose of, but we're considering what the town of Bedford has is some type of mailbox or facility that would accept the disposal of drugs, but what we do with them after they're deposited at a certain location is difficult to say because the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency, is not going to do the pickup anymore.
I have
So
this.
it's a work in progress. The number that the county police have is
That's from Nan.
1-800-898.
Right away, and it's going to be.
We'll just take a break and think about our firefighters going out. Okay, the tip line again is 1-800-898-TIPS, which is 8477. Sergeant Pavone gave Nan Miller this information. It's something that the residents of Mount Kisco or the surrounding community can take advantage of, and the county police will contact the local police department and/or, if there's not a police department, the people that may be responsible for enforcing it. And so we're going to be working on that. A lot of things going on in Mount Kisco. As you may or may not know, the Northern Westchester Hospital has merged with North Shore LIJ. I had the opportunity to meet with the hospital, the president, Joel Seligman, the chairman of the hospital board, Bob Spalzino, and the CEO of North Shore, Michael Dowling. I introduced him to the village of Mount Kisco. We're looking forward to what's being proposed. It may be expansion, it may be status quo for a while, but there are a lot of things that are really of interest that may provide better health care for our community, including outreach services. So it's a work in progress. I can't emphasize enough that how fortunate we are to have what I call a branding in Mount Kisco as a medical-based community, a health and wellness community, that we have health clubs, we have the hospital, we have medical groups. We have a whole host of services that are provided to basically serve the people of Mount Kisco that are concerned about their health and welfare. I'm trying to answer the call for the merchants in the downtown area, and there is a couple of proposals that have been made to me very informally about what they call transit-oriented development. And what that is encouraging development in the downtown area that may bring rental units into the downtown area that would be geared toward high-end people that would basically spend money in the downtown, use the train as instead of automobile, travel back and forth from the city, and then shop locally, dine locally, and hopefully partake of some of our recreation services. So it's a work in progress, but we're looking to move forward, and some of the merchants in Mount Kisco are concerned that there's not enough foot traffic, so that's possibly a way to answer that. The Little League Parade, there were a couple bumps in the road. A week and a half before the parade, Bob Burns, who some of you may know, contacted me and said they would want to move the schedule up from the 25th to the 18th. We had already allocated and assigned officers to the 25th. So Bob Burns was very accommodating. We started the parade at 9 o'clock in the morning. I have to tell you, the kids had a great day. They had a long day. It was a better day that we started earlier. They had more time on the field. And for those that had to get up a little early, I'm sorry, but it worked out very well. Peter spoke about the Solarize initiative and the meeting tomorrow night at the Boys and Girls Club, especially the commercial business owners. I asked you to take advantage of this workshop. It can be very informative. We had a new business open on Moore Avenue, J. Moore Insurance. The sole proprietor, Julia Moore, is a very energetic young lady, and she's part of the Chamber of Commerce, and we wished her well. The Rob Astorino, our county executive, was in Mount Kisco yesterday to make a short speech at the Knights of Columbus breakfast. It was well attended and very impressive, and we thank the county executive for being in Mount Kisco. And finally, I just want to remember something that happened 40 years ago in the village of Mount Kisco with a proclamation I presented at the senior center last week. In 1975, under the leadership of three compassionate men, Mayor Hank Kensing, Deputy Mayor George Crow, and Superintendent of Recreation Michael Volpe, the Senior Nutrition Center was started. It started at the American Legion building with the support of our veterans and under the direction of Gene Ara. At its inception, it served 12 meals a day to our senior citizens. In 1976, the Mount Kisco Senior Nutrition Program delivered the first meal to homebound senior citizens, the first home delivered meal to a senior citizen in Westchester County, so it's quite an accomplishment. In 1982, the Senior Nutrition Program relocated for a brief period of time to the Fox Center and then went back to the St. Francis AME Zion Church during a renovation period and eventually back to the Mount Kisco Senior Center. The Mount Kisco Senior Center program is firmly established to serve thousands of meals at the Fox Center, delivering meals to homebound, and equally important, has provided caring support for the Mount Kisco senior population, and it's quite an accomplishment. The Mount Kisco Senior Nutrition Program is considered the premier senior nutrition program in northern Westchester, operating under the direction of Kerry Montano and with the support of the caring people of the village of Mount Kisco, who helps fund the program. And I recognize the Senior Nutrition Program by declaring April 8th, 2015 as Mount Kisco Senior Nutrition Program. I encouraged all residents of this village to applaud the program, congratulate those who are responsible for making the program work, and continue to recognize the fact that we are committed to making Mount Kisco a better place to live for senior citizens. And I have a couple other things, but I'm going to dispense with that and ask that under new business, we move ahead because I believe there are a number of people here that are wishing to speak about the last item on the agenda, which we generally reserve time to speak under a public forum, but I'm going to ask that anybody that would like to speak to the police IMA with Westchester County, I'm going to give you the opportunity to come to the microphone and make any comments in a short time. I'll just give you a little update on, let's see. We're okay? On April 15th, which was last Wednesday, late in the evening at 4:50 p.m., I received the following email from George Oros, the Chief of Staff for our County Executive, Rob Astorino, and it's addressed to myself. Per discussions with Deputy County Executive Plunkett and you, attached, please find the proposed intermunicipal agreement regarding the public safety services for consideration by the Village Board of Trustees. Once the board has authorized the agreement of your signature, the county executive will submit the IMA to the Board of Legislators for board approval. Thank you for your patience and your cooperation during this process. Any questions as to the submittal process to the Board of Legislators may be answered by me, so please contact George Oros, signed Chief of Staff. As soon as we got the IMA as it was released by the Westchester County, I asked the village manager to post it on our website and also forward it to the people that had foiled for it. And right now, the village board is ready to take action and basically authorize the execution of the IMA pending the approval of the Board of Legislators of Westchester County. So if there are any comments this evening, I do have one written comment. I'd appreciate that you come forward. Just give us your name and address and address the pertinent issue before us. Anyone?
No.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Kim Terlizzi, Mount Kisco. I've spoken here a few times regarding this whole process, and from the beginning I've said implicitly, absolutely, there should be a referendum regarding this whole procedure. Not only legally should there be, but also it's the right thing to do when you're dismantling a 140-year police department for the village of Mount Kisco. In a recent article in the Daily Voice, it stated that this was not considered an abolishment of the police department because the county is not going to be providing services for the court or parking enforcement. And if it was an abolishment, you would need a referendum, but somehow you're counting that as keeping the police department, keeping it under the police department's umbrella. And you had stated, Mayor Cindrich, at a previous meeting to me that there were going to be some current Mount Kisco police officers that would be staying on as Mount Kisco police officers after this merger takeover happened. Is that true?
Yes.
So there will be, even though that wasn't in the IMA, it wasn't stated in the IMA that there were going to be current Mount Kisco police officers.
As you read through the IMA, you'll see there's a provision in there that what we're contracting for initially is basically 25 uniform personnel. If, in fact, we do, and we plan on keeping, and I'll explain that in some detail, we're keeping officers that may want to stay from the village of Mount Kisco. If they opt to stay, and that's their choice, that's their right. If they opt to resign and be reinstated with the county, they have the right to do that. And if we do intend to keep a small contingent of patrolmen and the chief of police in Mount Kisco.
And it's the current chief of police?
The current chief of police.
Has he rescinded withdrawn his application from the county?
He will not be afforded the opportunity to go to the county at this time as a police chief.
That's not what I asked. Is he rescinding withdrawing his application from the county?
I haven't seen any
So he could
agreement.
stay initially and then leave at some further point,
But we
some future
will
point.
retain initially a police chief and members of
Where would you get
a
another
patrol
police
force.
chief from?
That's going to be up to the civil service laws.
It just seems clear that you're trying everything you can to not have a referendum. You're twisting laws, you're bending laws to subvert the will of the people. Why won't you have a referendum? It's because you're afraid it's not going to pass, and you're abusing your elected powers by not allowing the residents to decide this. This is a huge, huge part of our town that the five of you are taking control over. Mayor Sindrich, you had stated at a June 2014 meeting, and I'm going to quote you, "Let me be clear of one thing. I am not opposed to a referendum. The only problem is that it has taken so long to put this together and get the proposal reduced to writing. That is my concern, is that the men and women of the police department are going to become frustrated. If we lose the inertia to move this forward, we lose the deal. This is my biggest concern." That was almost a year ago. You're not going to lose the deal. Clearly, the county is desperate for this deal. You're not going to, time is not of the essence, because you can have a referendum, I spoke to the village manager, at any time. Have one next month. So adding a month on to this lengthy endeavor is certainly not going to make a difference. The only thing the men and women of this department are frustrated with is the way that they're treated by this board and the disrespect for the service of this community. They're the lowest paid in the county. They're 5 years, once again, without a contract. And it's unbelievable that this is how you treat the police department. You're a retired police officer, I think 30-something years from Amerenik. You should be ashamed of your relationship with this department.
Okay, Kim, I think...
No, I'm not done.
But I think that personal attacks aren't warranted at this time.
Well, it's not a personal attack. The proof is in the pudding.
They have,
This-
the
5 years ago,
Mount
they're
Kisco
the
Police
lowest
Department
paid.
has an agreement
They're the
in
lowest
place.
paid in the county, and they have been for a long time.
They have an agreement in place right now.
Since then, it's only gotten worse. They're hoping that this deal goes through so that they can get away from this board, not necessarily our community. And that's the shame of this. Now my problems with the county. Back when they made their presentation to the residents, they completely misrepresented their standing with Ossining. They stated that Ossining was happy with their services and cost, and they were going to be signing another multi-year contract with them. After the meeting, I spoke with a village board member from Ossining who said no. Currently, they were already putting bids out to other local communities for services to be taken over, and which it did end up actually happening. They went with another local community and saved about $3 million in the process. We don't have that option here, which I've pointed out before, because no other towns locally can take over for Mount Kisco. We're too big of a town, and also not to mention the other local police departments are paid substantially higher than our officers, so we can't afford it. And you had also stated, Mayor Sindrich, in another article that your deal with the county mirrors the one that the county had with Ossining. So you're mirroring the contract that just failed after one term. Their one merger with another town failed, and that's what you're getting this town into. My two fears, if this does go through, is number one, the loss of services, which we've already had, and you're all well aware of that, and the future cost, which is another big concern, and it will happen, it will go up, and it'll be higher than it would have been if it had stayed our local police department, because the Westchester County Department is one of the highest paid in the state. So I don't see how you can say this is going to be a cost savings for our village. Trustee Marcus, at one of the meetings where I said to you, and I was having a lot of questions about what was going on and saying nothing was transparent, nothing was being disseminated to the public, you stated to me quite abruptly that it wasn't time for that. That after all the nuts and bolts were put together behind the scenes, then everything would be presented to the village, and then the village would have time to respond to it. What happened to that? You're voting on it tonight. This is just government at its worst. It's despicable. And you should all be ashamed of yourself. And you're setting this village up to have to pay for this forever. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anyone else this evening?
Mayor, Board, Richard Romeo, Forest Drive, Mount Kisco. I have three quick things I'd like to say. First, this agreement was really only available since Friday. This is a pretty important matter. while I don't know whether a public hearing is required or not, I'm going to accept your word that it's not. This just isn't really enough time, in my opinion. You should have a public hearing, let more people come and speak, not put it in on a meeting where you're voting on a budget, and there are time constraints. I just don't understand why the rush. I really don't. Second, the IMA is silent on the hiring by the county of the village officers, and I'm very concerned about that, because my understanding of this, again, it's from reading in the press, so I don't know if it's totally accurate, was that the county was going to hire our officers. And not only is it silent on that point, paragraph 9th of the agreement is what we call a merger clause, which basically says this agreement contains the entire agreement between the parties and that there's nothing else that is part of this agreement. So my concern is to take care of these officers, they're just left out there. Now, if there's another agreement, maybe it shouldn't go in the IMA, but maybe the IMA should refer to it, and maybe all of this stuff should be signed at one time, at the same time, contemporaneously, so that all of this is in one neat deal. I'm very concerned about that merger clause and then not having a written statement in the agreement, despite what various elected officials may have told you from the county or whatever. So I'm just concerned about that. And my third and final comment is, I'm personally opposed to this. I think this is a big mistake. I know a lot of our officers very well, and I respect them very much. They do a great job. I understand, if I were them, why I would want this. Okay, and I just think that it's a shame that it got to this point, because the county police is not my problem. They're a fine organization. They're very professional. They're accredited by the state. My opinion, I just like to see it local, with local people who are here and not called out to the sawmill or other places. But I understand that the board has wanted it. They're pushing forward it. The officers want it. As I said, I'm personally against it. I think it's just terrible that we're doing this, but so be it.
Thank you. There is agreements between the individual officers in Westchester County on their resignation from Mount Kisco and the reinstatement. And according to Human Resources, it's something that couldn't be put in the IMA. And we've discussed this at length. There is a clause in the agreement that will allow, if in fact, a rescission clause, if in fact even one officer was denied the opportunity to resign from Mount Kisco and go to the county, and that's something we would invoke.
Okay, so there is a written signed agreement already with that?
No,
Each Mount Kisco police officer has been basically interviewed, their background checks have been made, they've gone through other procedures before the county, and that is an agreement between them and Westchester County.
Well, all I'm saying is, Mayor, you have a closing, sort of, a closing of the transaction?
Rich, I know what
Okay,
you're saying.
That's
and
all I'm saying.
we-
And that ties it up in a nice,
Maybe
neat
Whitney can
bow.
expand on it, but we asked for that to be in the agreement, and there's something in some obscure law that wouldn't allow us to contract for each individual.
So we dealt with it in another fashion because we were concerned about that as well, and we can have our village attorney explain that to you if you'd like him to.
Yeah. It was a similar concern that was raised by the village board during the negotiating process with the county. We asked that specific provision be put in there. But as you will see in the Austining agreement, or the original Austining agreement, there is no mandate that they be hired. This is going to be a resign and reinstatement. Whoever wants to stay can stay. Whoever wants to resign and go with the county can resign and go with the county. It is the individual officer's option. What Mount Kisco was concerned about is, what if the officers that want to go to the county are not afforded that opportunity? So what is put in the agreement in paragraph marked 4th is that the village will have an opportunity to rescind this agreement in its entirety if, after a 45-day period. Those are in addition to the ability to terminate on a year's notice that are for each and every one of the years. There's an absolute rescission period after 45 days to ensure that the representations of the county are in fact honored. So with the Austining, there was no closing, so to speak?
No.
Or simultaneous
Identical.
signing of all of these
Unfortunately-
various parts?
Unfortunately, the two agreements are very, very similar, except for we did put in this provision in paragraph 4th.
regarding the
And
recession.
There's a couple other things that you want to address. The issue of the individual police officers. In the resign reinstatement is common throughout Westchester County. And basically is the officer would go to another department, ask for a letter that he's going to be hired by that agency, and that at that time he'd offer his resignation of the department he's serving in. And for whatever reason, Human Resources felt that should be a contract between the individual and the hiring agency. And I just have to make one other comment. This didn't start with Mike Sindrich or anybody else on this board or the village manager going to the Westchester County and asking for, that they provide services to the village. It was in fact one officer from, or two officers from the village of Mount Kisco that went to the county and asked what are the possibilities, and that's when I was approached by the Westchester County Commissioner, and I basically said, if it's going to save money, let's look at it and let's analyze it. And that's what we've been trying to do. The last 3 years, and this is 3 years in the making, have been very difficult. It's been difficult for the police officers in Westchester County. It's been difficult for the Mount Kisco police officers. The county police officers had to take action to allow the Mount Kisco police officers to be reinstated in their current rank. This was something that we had to get through Human Resources to allow. And I'm just going to say this for the record. Even with this year's budget, if we stayed with the Mount Kisco Police Department, the budget numbers are grossly understated. And I've had this conversation with a number of the officers in Mount Kisco. If we were to provide a police department up to par with what we need, with the technology they need, the equipment they need, and the salaries they need, our budget would be over $8 million in policing. And I can give you those numbers at some point in time if you'd like, but they know what they are from, things they've been asking for, whether they be tasers and GPS equipment in the cars, and we're covering our bases in a lot of areas. As you know, the Mount Kisco police officers don't have jurisdiction outside of Mount Kisco, and this agreement's going to provide for protection of Byram Lake, which is really our sole source of supply, where the police officer can take action with the county if there's something that's gone awry. And other services that we're going to have, we're doubling the force on the street. And in my opinion, that's where the police officer belongs, on the street. So we are eliminating some positions, we're doubling the people on the street. And over the last few months, or almost a year, we've been trying to work out the kinks in it, and that may happen with communications. We have some technology failures, even with our own equipment, that has to be replaced to the tune of $500,000 up at the water tower. So this has been, we've given this a lot of thought. It's not something we're doing without the agonizing over it, and it's something that the police officers want because they're going to have an opportunity for advancement, an opportunity to change where they're working and what they're doing and how they're working, which you don't get in a small department. And the opportunity to become a detective, the opportunity to work in a specialized unit, the opportunity to be promoted. If they opt to go and they want to work on the road, they'll be able to work on the road. If they like hometown policing, there are other venues that do exist with the county in Westchester. The county police supplies student resource officers in both North Salem and Somers. They have a contingent of people in the town of Cortland, and I think they're doing an excellent job, and I think the Mount Kisco Department is going to be well served, as is the community.
Well, I don't want to debate you, but if I were one of the officers, I would want to do this too. They're without a contract for many years, took a long time for a chief to be appointed, some of the equipment hasn't been updated, so if I were them, I would want this too. And that would be my reason, and there's nothing wrong with that, because I understand what they're saying. Okay, but again, I'm in a minority, and it's going to go through, but I just, for the reasons I said before, I just think it's a mistake.
We appreciate you giving us your view.
Alberta?
Good evening. Mel Berger, 70 Barker Street, Mount Kisco. I think we make a mistake when we're trying to conflate two issues. The issue of the officers is nobody is arguing that. The issue is the openness of how this took effect. Hearing your explanation now seems to be this is a tense situation that you have gone through for eons already, and it's something that we all should feel an immediacy to take care of. Well, not all of us do feel that immediacy. For instance, I spoke to different delegations in the last couple of days when I heard that we were going to be on tonight for this. People in co-ops and condos in my area where I am. Some of the senior citizens at the centers that you were referring to. And when I mentioned to them that the Mount Kisco Police Department area is going to be closed and their only access to Mount Kisco Police is going to be a phone outside of the station, they were stunned. All of these people in the village should have an opportunity to hear from you when you make your rounds exactly what's going to happen. They're not going to feel all of the tension that you guys feel who have been dealing with it for so many months. This is what they're hearing now for the first time. And you do them a disservice. You do everyone in the village a disservice by not even sharing that with them. So I'll ask you again, why not a public hearing in 1 week, in 2 weeks, so we can all listen to it? I'm sure you have good arguments. There's a reason for all the tension in the air. Well, let's hear it and let us feel it, so then we can be behind you. But we see a flag, we see a banner, we know the history of Mount Kisco. We don't want to do away with the police department itself, or the officers. They're all fine. It's just the fact that there's not going to be a police station, which irks a lot of people. There's somewhat of a feeling of family when you can dial 911, know exactly it's going to 40 Green Street, and you may even know the officer or one of his relatives or one of his companions there. We're not going to have that feeling anymore, and that's what bothers the population, and they should have an ability to hear your explanations and express their hesitancy, and then you'll have the whole village behind you. Thank you.
Thank you. Just so you know, the Mount Kisco Police Station will be staffed by 3 permanent detectives in the building, and that'll be their station, their precinct, which they will work out of. There will also be, as you may know, and as society is changing, when you dial 911 now from a cell phone, you don't get a live body in a local police station. You get the state police. And then the state police, if they're interested, they may they refer your call to the municipality that you're calling about. If it's a person on the road and they don't know exactly where they are, often those calls don't go to the right place. In this instance, you know, we don't have that with cell phone technology now, where it's enhanced 911 that goes directly to Mount Kisco on a cell phone. But what we do have in where the dispatch will be, the dispatch will have enhanced 911. When you dial in from your home, your address will come up on a computer screen telling your exact address. And we're hoping with the CAD programs and everything else that are available, it'll also give a history of any calls that may have happened there in the past, if there are ever any weapons on the property, if there are any medical conditions that we should know about, and a whole host of other things, including things that we're still developing, and hopefully they will be included in.
But that's technology for you, which is wonderful. But what about the guy who is in his apartment, in his house, who knows he's 2 blocks from you, he dials 911, he expects someone to come in 10 minutes, as they have in the past.
Well, hopefully they're going to come in a lot less than 10 minutes.
Hopefully.
These meetings previously.
Yes, sir.
Just that we didn't-
Hi, my name's Dan Lockney. I've lived on Rutland Street since 2001. I've been to a few of these meetings, and I can really feel the passion coming from the community. And I see the importance of doing it. And I think it can be a really good program for the police department, for the town. But to take a step back, you can look at this differently. You can say this is just an outsourcing agreement. Companies do this every day. They outsource projects, people do work for you. You outsource entire services, you can outsource your help desk, you do this all the time. And when it comes down to it, it's that piece of paper that was released last week, which is really the most important artifact of this entire process, for as long as it's taken. And I actually received it Friday from the Daily Voice. I made a couple of requests that I didn't actually get it on Wednesday, Thursday. But looking through it, I see it talks about the things that are supposed to happen and then the services that we are, purchasing essentially. But it really doesn't talk to the protections about things that go wrong or things that don't meet your expectations. And for those reasons, I think there's significant work to still be done on this contract before it's signed. To give you an example, I think we all assume that we're going to get a certain number of people, a certain number of officers on the street, and they're going to do police officer things, but they are going to be reporting to the county. And Mayor, if you're dissatisfied with their response time or the way they do your job, you really need that document to give you the recourse to enforce them to do what you want. I've been involved in many, many of these projects just in business, and I can tell you they never go as well as you want. And it's the day that you have to open up that document is the day you're thankful that those provisions were actually written into it. So I would ask the board that you do not vote on this tonight, and that you continue to look at the document itself and really try to examine what provisions need to be there for the protection of the town. So, thank you.
Thank you. Ralph?
Good evening, everyone. Ralph Vigliotti, 26 Meadowbrook Lane. I'm not here to discuss whether the contract as I see it, the agreement as I see it is good or bad, because I really haven't had that much time to review it. It only became public Friday, and it's only because of the Mount Kisco Daily Voice that I was alerted that it was available. I don't think there's been enough transparency from the board to the village residents, and that's who you serve. You don't serve each other. You serve the residents of the village town of Mount Kisco. You, as a board, need to do everything you can to ensure that the residents are fully informed. I thought tonight was going to be a public hearing with a full, detailed, final presentation. I don't feel it. I'm getting some information out as folks from the audience are asking questions. I'd like to see a PowerPoint presentation from our officials, not from the county. I think we've placed ourselves as a village in a very awkward position. The residents out on the street are not happy about what they're not happy because they don't know enough. So they're sharing with one another what's going on. Even what it says here, it's under new business, police IMA with Westchester County. What does that mean to any resident in the village? Someone that just arrived 6 months ago, a year ago. What does it mean? It should say Westchester County Mount Kisco Police Department agreement, or the Village of Mount Kisco's agreement with the Westchester County Police. It says nothing. That's not transparency, not even on the agenda. We're doing something wrong. I don't think you're ready tonight to. You may be ready because you have been involved with this for 2 years, 3 years, and you know so much that you're feeling comfortable among yourselves, but the village residents aren't comfortable. And I don't think the residents are ready this evening. Someone mentioned a permissive referendum. Yes, it costs money, absolutely. 6, 8, 10,000, I'm not sure what it costs. But once and for all, the residents have something to say, good, bad, or indifferent. It's only a permissive, but it does allow the residents to either voice their opinion by coming out to vote, coming out to find out what they're voting on. I got my water bill recently. There could have been something in the water bill. It wouldn't cost anything to get a message out to the residents that it's coming up. The IMA agreement is coming up. Get ready. There's going to be a public hearing. This is not even a hearing. This is not even really alerting the village, the residents of the village, that we're voting on something as huge as this. It may be the best thing that ever happened to this village, but that's not the question this evening. The question is transparency. And I know you've tried to be transparent in many, many other issues in the village. I don't even think the last meeting that was on TV indicated that this was going to take place, and it's so huge. A number of years ago, when we were thinking of going from replacing Memorial Pool or repairing Memorial Pool, there was a large concern in the village, and it was put to a permissive referendum. Something like this really should go before the village. Or several public meetings. It is on TV, allowing people to know what the schedule is. What you did a year ago, I think, was a beginning of something that was positive, but the county did all the presenting. It's now time for the village to sell it to the residents. I did know it says how many police officers would be available during the day, the evening, and the night. I was a little concerned about the night shift, and I'm not sure what it is now, 11 to 7 or later. It's 1 sergeant, 2 police officers. That's not much different than what we have now.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so well, I don't want to get into the numbers, but I thought those numbers would be a little bit different. I just leave it at that. I think the police department has every right with their families to get the best possible contract that they can, and you haven't been able to get it from the village, and the county is reaching out, and it's something that'll be positive for your families. Why not? You have every right to, and I wish you all the best of luck. I'm just here representing myself personally, a number of people who feel that there really should be a public hearing.
Well, they should be here tonight, Ralph.
Well, I don't think many, if it wasn't for the Daily Voice, I wouldn't even know there was a meeting tonight discussing this. And if I look down, under new business, it's really old business. Well, it's new business because it's an agreement, but it's old business because this has been going on for 3 years. But Police IMA with Westchester County doesn't say a lot. Doesn't say what you're really doing. You know what you're doing. I know what IMA, I know what this means, but I think the average resident of the village has no clue what that line means.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Anyone else this evening? Chief?
How you doing? I'm here, John Bodie. I live at 202 St. Mark's Place. I think that's why we put you guys in power, to make the right decisions as elected officials. And I've been here myself. I deal with them all the time. I'm telling you, it's the best thing that could happen to this town. The amount of resources you're going to get. As of right now, the fire department and the ambulance and the police department all get dispatched by the county right now. So when you dial 911, you don't get Kisco PD no more. You get the county, you get the state police and the county, and they dispatch us. That's how it works. Me personally, I think you're doing the right thing, and if you want me to, I can bring 500, 600, 700 people in the room if you want. There's a lot of people out there that want it to go through. There's certain people that don't want to go through. If it was that important to them, just like me, I just worked 24 hours, and I came here because it was important to me and important to the rest of the citizens in this town. If you knew about it, you make provisions to come. This is not like it's been here for 2 days, 3 days, 5 days. It's been worked on for 3 years. There have been plenty of presentations, plenty of time for people to come. If they were that interested, they'd be here tonight. They definitely would be here tonight, like I'm here tonight. I think you're doing the right thing. That's why we voted for you, put confidence in you, and I think you should go ahead and go forward with it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your hard work putting into it.
Anyone else this evening?
I stand before you today as a
Will you
lifelong,
identify yourself, please?
Louis Terlizzi, lifelong village resident, 30-year member of the police department,
Residing,
residing in Mount Kisco. I stand before you today as a lifelong resident who's concerned about the future of the Mount Kisco Police Department, the 140-year-old Mount Kisco Police Department, where I've served for almost 3 decades. I am one of only 2 Mount Kisco police officers who actually live in Mount Kisco. It's been some 30 years since I made a commitment to this village, and I believe likewise the village made a commitment to me and the other officers who joined here. Both my family and I have made many sacrifices in order to serve as a Mount Kisco police officer, as all police officers do. I also believe that my experience in these 30 years provides me with some unique insight into the operations of the police department. As I indicated at a village board meeting last year, I would stack the response times of the Mount Kisco Police Department up against anyone. Sadly, since the county police took over remote police dispatch responsibilities, we have seen an increase in dispatch delays and errors, resulting in longer response times. Ultimately, this has had a direct effect on our residents. This is an unfortunate byproduct of dispatching remotely from county as opposed to doing so from our own police department. By dispatching remotely, we have sacrificed both efficiency and effectiveness. And as the board is well aware, I have brought specific concerns regarding this to the attention of both the chief of police and the village manager. And to make matters worse, last year Mayor Cindrich indicated at a board meeting that the village board had, quote, deliberately downsized the Mount Kisco Police Department in order to facilitate a county police takeover. The reduction of approximately 1/3, or 10 officers, over the past few years has jeopardized not only public safety but officer safety as well. This has had a negative impact on the provision of police services to our community. One question people should be asking themselves is why so many members of the Mount Kisco Police Department, who all came here willingly, who all wanted to work in Mount Kisco, now so desperately want to leave. I believe it has to do with the way they've been treated by village officials. And just one example, being last year when the mayor said, officers just can't wait any longer. We need to do something now. A year ago. Yet once again, we are 5 years without a contract and remain the lowest paid in the county. Now about the proposed IMA. I believe that this plan to circumvent the law and abolish the Mount Kisco Police Department without a permissive referendum is wrong and not in the best interests of the village residents. However, by what appears to be your unprecedented actions that you plan on taking tonight, you all purport to know what is best for the residents of Mount Kisco. If this current village board were to enact this latest merger scheme, it would not only be abdicating local control of our police department, but will also bind future village boards and affecting generations of residents to come. This would be similar, for example, to the historic 40-year lease that a previous village board granted to a garbage contractor to operate the garbage transfer station. Finally, after 40 years, we're out from under that. Unfortunately, once this deal is completed, there's no going back. You cannot unring the bell.
Thank you.
I'm not finished. Although I'm not here and I'm not authorized to speak on behalf of the PBA, I would just like to set the record straight. There is no current agreement in place. There was a previous agreement, a proposal, which has expired. The dates involved have all expired. So there is no current agreement in place between the PBA, the officers of Mount Kisco, and the village as far as an exit package. The other correction I'd like to make is that we're not doubling officers. We actually will have less officers overall available. Now, I do have some questions for the board, and I hope that you can answer them. Mayor Cindrich, why did you claim in a March 2015 Examiner News article that the IMA would be subject to a vote following a public hearing?
We're airing it out right now, Mr.
This
Talisi.
is not a public hearing.
Okay, well,
There is no public hearing set for this matter.
All right. Is it a question or a statement?
It's a question.
He answered
I
you?
answered it.
Next question.
But you called this a public hearing, yet it's not.
Yes.
You're well aware it's not.
We're giving you the opportunity to speak. We could have just voted on it and been done with it. But we're giving everybody in this village an opportunity to speak this evening.
But you publicly stated in the newspaper that you would, I mean, I have it right here, quote.
Okay, are we going to argue about this? Or
I just want to make sure we have the facts out.
All right, go ahead.
Following a public hearing, the village board would also need to approve the agreement, Sindrich said. March, last month. Examiner News.
Thank you.
Is that correct?
We're having.
Did you make
This
that
is-
statement?
We're giving you an opportunity to speak.
This is not a public hearing, Mayor. You're
Okay,
well aware of
fine,
that.
that's your opinion.
Mayor Sindrich, in light of the fact that your son is a high-ranking member of the county police, have you sought and received opinions from both the Mount Kisco Board of Ethics and the New York State Board of Ethics to either participate in negotiations with the county and/or to vote on this matter?
My son is not a high-ranking officer in the Westchester County Department of Public Safety. He's a line officer subject to civil service rules and regulations, and he has no input or decision-making in this process.
I'm sorry, and what rank is your son?
My son's a lieutenant.
Will the police department headquarters remain open, staffed, and accessible to the public 24 hours, 7 days a week, as it is now?
No.
So persons seeking assistance will now be forced to utilize the call box located outside the police station?
They'll have available to them the officers on the street.
And the call box, and calling.
Well, this will adversely affect the most vulnerable in our community who are seeking police assistance. And having been here 30 years, I'll give you an example for today on the day shift. The only crimes that we had, and I dealt with 3 criminal matters, were all reported by people coming into headquarters, into the lobby. That's how important it is. At a time when modern policing is moving towards increased local community-based policing, why are we moving away from that model? How can you justify less supervision of police personnel at a time when the public demands increased supervision?
We're increasing the supervision. How many shifts do you run without a supervisor?
Well, unfortunately, being down 10 officers, there's far too many.
How many
But,
supervisors are we down?
well, if promotions were made, we could have had those positions. But notwithstanding that, we have patrol sergeants, 5 patrol sergeants, each assigned to a squad. We currently have a chief, 2 lieutenants working opposite shifts, and a detective sergeant on duty in the station house who specifically oversees the detectives in the detective division. And all these officers work in the village. So we're going away from supervision, where you have lieutenants and the detective sergeants, and et cetera.
Speak to that.
And now we're going away and moving away from that model.
Lou, we're going with supervision on the street where it belongs, not sitting behind a desk.
All the officers are available and respond to calls.
Okay.
Including our chief of police.
Thank you.
While the board frequently claims that there will be cost savings in this so-called police consolidation, where are the financial reports, and why have we yet to hear from the village treasurer on the subject? I mean, we're like Mr. Vigliotti asked, where is the village's side? We've only heard from the county. The county put some numbers up. How much did it cost to operate the police department last year? Do we have a number on that?
Yes.
How much?
Approximately $6.5 million.
That's what it was last year,
Yes.
to operate the police department? Can the treasurer verify that? And the year before? Okay.
Similar. I mean, we have increased expenses every year because of...
Okay, Bob, you'll have to come up if you want to speak.
Yeah, come on up. Mr. Tilly, could you move over so he can speak, please?
What we have done in each year's operating expense, because we have had unsettled contracts, we do an accrual every year for an increased salary. So basically, I have put in the budget, and then we establish an accrual, sits on our books as a liability. basically 5 years' worth of raises. So when we write the budget for next year, it would include another year's raise. If we went another year after that, we would include another raise. So we actually put in the plan what we expect an anticipated salary level for specific officers.
So this is
Does that answer-
anticipated as opposed to actually expended.
Yeah, right. Well, actually, we do book an entry. We do book an entry as an accrual, because once those contracts were settled, hypothetically, let me throw out a number. We have, I believe, can I divulge? We have over $2 million that we have an accrued liability to pay salaries, pension costs, and other outstanding liabilities that are due the officers. So, and that number sits on our books. It's very clear on our operating statements. You know, it's audited, it's an audited number. So those numbers are available. If the contract was settled today and they decided to give the officers X amount percent, going back 5 years, the funding and the liability is there to take care of it and pay it.
Thank you.
Sounds like a big if, but thank you. What recourse will the village have if what happened in Ossining, after only one contract term, happens here, and the county police, and the Mount Kisco decides that it's either cost prohibitive and/or the residents are not happy with the service they receive? Who do we turn to for police protection and services, and at what cost? I mean, is that something you're prepared for?
I think that, if I may speak, I think that what happened, what was good about in Ossining is that they had some options. And I think that from a broader point of view, you look at the taxes that we're dealing with in Westchester County and all over New York State. And we're dealing with a governor who's encouraging a lot of economies of scale and using our resources as best as we can. In that particular situation, what you had is that they decided to go with the village instead of going with the county. They had some options, and that was the option that they chose to do. They didn't choose to reinstate their own police department. I think that what this board is doing is we're seeing from a fiscal point of view and from a service point of view that this is the best option for our residents, and that to deal with both the tax situation and to deal with public safety. We've reviewed this thoroughly. We've had a couple of public hearings or a lot of hearings on this previously, and we're very confident that this is the best way to go. That's a much different situation that you're posing, that they didn't have an option. They could have continued with the county, but they chose to go with the village, which was an option that they had, as far as I'm concerned, and maybe they thought it was a better fiscal situation, and they were debating it over a course of time, because we all know that they were, you know, kind of going back and forth as to which way they were going to go. So I don't think we're going to be faced with that situation, because they could have went with the county, but they opted to go with the village.
Well, they're saving $2.8 million over the next term of the contract.
Correct, but they weren't going to be in a situation where they were going to be out without a police department, and they weren't going to be with, and they were able to get a better situation than what they had. I mean,
But what will where will Mount Kisco turn? What will our options be if it doesn't work out? Where do we turn?
it did not work out for them. They had another option that was less expensive.
Okay, well, they chose to go after one contract with another municipality.
Well,
What will
Mr.
Mount
Taluzzi,
Kisco?
you and I have a different view on it, that's all.
Well, I'm asking a question. What options will Mount Kisco have if it doesn't work out with the county? Where can we turn for police services?
It did work out with the county. They would
The
just,
Ossining deal did work out with Westchester County. Westchester County provided exceptional services to the town of Ossining, and if you want to go to the current mayor, who was a board of trustee, a council person, she will give you that information, that they were more than satisfied with the Westchester County police services.
and it's also working out in Cortland, which is where I used to live, okay, before I moved here. And I've also spoken to various individuals myself in my own investigation or my own inquiry as to, and I know that it's a part-time department there as opposed to a full-time department, but nevertheless, it's been there for quite some time under Linda Puglisi and the council persons there, and they're very satisfied with how it's working out. And they're much more satisfied with that, how it's working there, than what it was when they had their own police department many, many years ago. So we have looked into it, and we're confident it's going to work out, and we don't believe that it did not work out for the town of Ossining.
Okay, well, a board member who I have been indirectly in contact with has stated they weren't happy with the cost or the service. Now, that being said, They chose another, they had that option. What option will Mount Kisco have if we're not happy with the service? Where can we turn? Where do you project? You're a temporary board who may not be here when this contract is over.
Oh, I'll be living here, Lou, and
You may not be a member of this
I
board.
may not be a member of this board, but if I was dissatisfied with the service, I would be speaking to the commissioner and his subordinates. And that's something we've arranged to do during the whole plan of what we're doing here. We're going to have weekly meetings, and weekly meetings bringing county people in to make presentations to the public. If there is a complaint, it's going to be answered in a timely fashion, and much more timely than what we've had in the past.
You brought up Cortland. Cortland has one officer, one county officer, 2 shifts, 2 out of the 3 shifts a day. So day and evening shift, no overnight officer, 1 officer.
And they have the state police that
They
supplement.
have the state police, and that's who does the bulk of
Correct,
their
and
patrol.
they work the lease out on the for barracks for the state police department.
That's 32,000 residents and 55 square miles.
Yes, I
One
understand.
county police officer.
And they're doing well.
They must be
And
doing
That's
a good
because
job.
the state police is doing police.
I don't,
are covering
that's
that.
not what I'm hearing from my resources there, the people I've spoken to.
So do you think that's enough, 1 officer? That's why we're
I
where
can't
we're
speak to
at.
how Cortland's working in terms of their
I don't want
contingency.
this to be a
The
debate.
question I have is, why does this village board continue to oppose a permissive referendum and letting the residents decide? Why do you oppose that? It's a simple question. It's a simple
We don't oppose it.
resolution to this matter.
If you want a referendum, bring in the signatures and we'll have a referendum.
So there's still time to do that.
We're going to execute the contract hopefully this evening. I'm going to ask for a motion.
So when can, at what point can any,
The lawyer will explain that to you if you'd like.
Mr. Singleton? Another question I have, is this a public hearing? While we're at it?
I'll be happy to provide you information on when a permissive referendum is permitted and is not permitted,
Well, the
and
mayor
what the
said-
I'm not answering, shout outs from the crowd or anything that happens to pop into your mind. You've already made a number of misstatements as to the proper legal analysis for this. Lou, you've clearly have a heartfelt position on this, but it's not necessarily consistent with the law, and I'm not going to sit here and debate with you what the legal requirements are. I'd be more than happy to provide you with what the requirements are under state law for a permissive referendum, but I'm not going to recite them here and then be quoted in the future by you or your wife.
I have 2 questions. Is this a public hearing?
This is a public meeting.
Is it a public hearing?
No, it was not noticed as a
Thank you.
hearing.
Now, second question. How long, if the residents decide to ask for a referendum, how long do they have before this becomes final?
I told you I would provide you that information. I'm not answering it now.
The
I'm
mayor
not-
said you're signing off on it tonight, so.
He answered the
Look-
question.
He's not answering the
He
question.
answered the question.
Actually, he didn't.
Okay.
Lou,
have a deadline.
Lou, I told you a second ago, I did answer the question. I told you a second ago that I would provide you with all that information. I'm not going to bark out answers to your questions that may or may not be accurate without me verifying what the law requires.
Unfortunately, this scheme seems to have more to do with politics than what is best for the residents of Mount Kisco. In this matter, I believe that neither the means nor the ends are justified. Instead of seeking to circumvent the law and deprive Mount Kisco residents a vote on the future of their police department, I hereby insist that this village board schedule a public referendum so that the residents can have a say in the future of their police department. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak this evening? We have a letter dated today from the Mount Kisco PBA. It's addressed to myself. The Mount Kisco PBA would like to inform you that we are in support of the merger for police services between the Mount Kisco and Westchester County Police Departments. After years of talking about the process, the PBA voted approximately 1 year ago to support the merger. We continue to support the merger and feel that it is beneficial to the PBA, the Village of Mount Kisco, and its citizens. We hope that we are in the final stages of this long process and are looking forward to what the changes will bring. Signed, Carlos Lopez, President of the Mount Kisco PBA. If there's anyone else, any other member of the Mount Kisco PBA that has a different opinion of the President of the PBA, I just ask that you take this opportunity to express that opinion. Okay. Nothing else? Going once? Thank you all for being here. And at this time, I'd ask the board if they have any comments or input on the decision before us this evening.
Well, I will speak firstly to the issue of transparency. I believe that we've been very transparent. We went over this at length a while ago. We didn't anticipate it would take this long, but it has, mostly for a lot of things that the county had to work out. We did speak to this. We had, I think, scores, if not hundreds of individuals come and speak, and we went through that week after week after week. We gave the presentation, we gave a general sense, we gave a great sense of what was going to happen. We allowed anybody who wanted to talk, for or against, speak, and speak time and time and again. So I stand by the transparency. And I also have to say, there's something about this particular mayor that, you know, there are times when he will tell you, when he's speaking in his report, about everything that's going on, pretty much. Every time there was something going on in negotiating with the county police, he would bring it up. He would say, we're in the process, we're waiting on this, we're trying to work it out. I was just on a phone call today, I was on a phone call tomorrow. There's been no effort by any member of this board that I'm aware of not to be transparent. So I think that we have fully vetted this with the community before. This is the legal component of it. We have great faith that this is going to work out, so I sit in favor of it. I do think that we don't have this particular deputy mayor, and I believe my board members do not have any interest in doing something that we don't genuinely believe is in the best interest of this village. That's what we genuinely believe is this the correct thing to do. And so we have been elected to do that. We're exercising our judgment. We are, and I don't have any problem whatsoever with disagreement, that there are views that are contrary, zealously set forth. If you have every right to speak your view, and I respect it. I just don't agree with those who don't want to go forward with this agreement. I have a different view, and I believe, having spoken to many members of the community, and having had the public hearings or the opportunity to hear from all the community members, that this is the right thing to do, and that this is what the community wants. And I think we will have better policing at a better price, and we'll still provide as affordable as we can tax or limited taxes as best we can in Westchester County to our citizens.
Thank you.
Well said.
Thank you.
Mayor, I'm willing to say something if I may at this point. I was away from this board for a little over 3 years, as many of you know, and came back onto this board not having as close a contact as I'd had before. So I looked at this with somewhat fresh eyes. And having looked at it, having looked at the finances and having looked at all the other issues and all the statistics that are put in front of us, I became convinced immediately that this would be the right thing to do. We're basically at a lower cost getting more policing on the streets. We have a number of human resource management issues from time to time, and they will be better dealt with, I believe, at a county level. So, Mayor, I am firmly convinced we're doing the right thing here and that all the people of Mount Kisco will benefit from this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I just wanted to make one short comment. I didn't want the people to think that we did not discuss the issue of the access to the police department. We have discussed it. We understand that this is a concern for a lot of people. It is just not possible to provide the service that you're looking for with a civilian. The cost to do it with a police officer at this point isn't justified. It's not to say that this has to be the way it's going to be forever. If there's a need, we can look at it. But this is the decision at this point, to try it this way.
I just want to recognize all the heartfelt comments that I heard this evening. It's a lot of passion has gone into this. But with what Deputy Mayor Marcus said, this did not happen overnight. We have been looking at this for well over 3 years, and we've been talking about this for longer than that. And every single step has been discussed ad nauseum here on this right here. And I know we were elected to do what we think is the right thing to do, and I do believe this is absolutely the right thing to do. And I feel very, very bad that you feel otherwise, but that's what makes our society so important.
Okay, I think I've talked at length on this issue. I've spent hundreds of hours driving back and forth to White Plains, talking to the county police officers, scrutinizing the documents that the Mount Kisco police officers and the police hierarchy, including Lieutenant Terlizzi, gave to the Westchester County Police Department to analyze the services that would be necessary to provide adequate police service to the village of Mount Kisco. We asked for a little bit more than what we have now. And I think in this agreement, I believe in this agreement, we have reached that goal, and we will have a better equipped and a better trained contingent of people on the street to answer the needs of our residents. We will be well supervised. This board will still maintain an interaction with the Westchester County hierarchy. There will be assigned to the department, to the precinct, if you will, or Mount Kisco headquarters, a liaison officer that we will have access to almost 24 hours a day. If there are any discrepancies, and whether it's sick leave abuse or non-response or not being courteous to a resident, the whole gambit, we will have that well under control. It's something that I don't think everybody understands. And when somebody looks at a police officer on the street, and besides, and ask any one of these officers, take the time when you leave here this evening, of how much training has to go in, and you've seen every day in the newspaper, training for this and training for that, inadequate training, probably cost about $10,000 to $15,000 minimum to have an ongoing training program, which very few departments have. And why a larger department like Westchester County can provide that training, because they can backfill positions with manpower and not incur exorbitant overtime charges and other issues that are absolutely necessary for a small department to provide training. And I'd venture to say that many of the departments, if not most of them, in Westchester County don't come near providing the training that Westchester County does to its officers. And we're very proud of the fact that Mount Kisco Police Department had availed themselves of some of the training that went on, the in-service training over the last 3 years, I believe, at the Westchester County Police Academy. We think it's been beneficial that they've been trained by Westchester County police officers and others. We think we've made inroads. The people that you see on the street today from the Mount Kisco Police Department, the majority of those will be here after this agreement takes effect, and I have full confidence in it. And as been said before, as far as I'm concerned, and what I expect from a government, is a village board and a mayor that you trust and believe that they're acting in the best interest of the community. And that's what I've done in all my time and service to this community, basically as a volunteer, and which I will continue to do. And as far as I'm concerned, there's a referendum every 2 years. You're either satisfied or you're not satisfied with our performance. So after saying that, I'm just going to ask, is there a motion to approve the intermunicipal agreement with Westchester County to provide police services to the village of Mount Kisco, and authorize the execution of this agreement pending the approval of the County Board of Legislators?
I'll make the motion, Mayor, that we approve the intermunicipal agreement with the Westchester County, and between the Village of Mount Kisco, and that we authorize the signatures that are necessary to approve it in the form that's been submitted to us and disseminated on the website and publicly here today, and that we await the county legislature's consent to this agreement.
I'll second that motion.
On the question? Mr. Fiala?
Deputy Mayor Marcus?
Yes.
Trustee Farber?
Aye.
Trustee Schleimer?
Aye.
Trustee Grunthal?
Aye.
Mayor Sindri?
Aye. Thank you. We're going to proceed with the top of the agenda now. First item on the agenda, new business, is a resolution authorizing the manager to sign the 2014 Mount Kisco Volunteer Ambulance Corps LoSAP sponsor authorization form.
Are we,
You either table these two pending an audit, or if the board would like to give us authorization pending the results of that audit. And the letter from the fire department, resolution number B, changed to inappropriate, addresses pending legislation or something provided. So it's up to the board's decision either way to proceed with this one.
Mayor, I've actually looked at these forms, and I would certainly support what our manager has just said, and I therefore propose the motion that we authorize this to be signed following the appropriate audit and the change to the actuary as mentioned by the manager.
Okay, so why don't we take one at a time? Are you willing to make a motion to authorize the manager to sign the 2014 Mount Kisco Volunteer Ambulance Corps LoSAP sponsor authorization form in accordance with the provision cited that there'll be the Stroud audit, and also there is no form change with the ambulance corps?
Exactly. I would
You'll
propose
make that
that.
motion?
Yes.
Okay, is there a second?
Go ahead.
I'd like to second that.
On the question, Mr. Fiala?
Trustee Grunthal?
Aye.
Trustee Schleimer?
Aye.
Trustee Farber?
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Marcus?
Aye.
Mayor Sindri?
Aye. Okay, on the next item, it's a resolution authorizing the manager to sign the 2014 Mount Kisco Volunteer Fire Department LoSAP sponsor authorization form, and the cover sheet to this application will have to be redone, and we will rely on the manager to forward that to the fire department for modification, and again with the audit control being done in the near future, and with findings of consistency. I'll make that motion that we authorize the manager to execute that resolution.
And I'll second it.
On the question, Mr.
Mayor
Fiala?
Sindri?
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Marcus?
Aye.
Trustee Farber?
Aye.
Trustee Schleimer?
Aye.
Trustee Grunthal?
Aye.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is a proclamation we do every time this time of the year, and actually in April, and it's a resolution that has to do with Arbor Day. And whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees, and whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our village town of Mount Kisco increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community, and whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now therefore, I, as the mayor of Mount Kisco, do hereby proclaim Friday, April 24th, 2015, as Arbor Day in the village town of Mount Kisco, and I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support the efforts to protect our trees, the woodlands, and furthermore, I urge the citizens to plant trees, to gladden the heart, and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Thank you. We have another resolution authorizing the village manager to sign the 2015-2016 New York State DOT snow and ice agreement. This agreement is for the upcoming year, and I'm hopeful that we will see an acknowledgement from the state for the snow and ice removal of this year, and there'll be an increased subsidy provided in accordance with what they have done in the past when we've suffered severe winters. We get paid for approximately 13 lane miles of snow removal on state roads to the tune of $20,163.15. I submit to everyone in this room that we spend much more in that in keeping our blacktop clear on state roads and also on county roads. So it's something that we're proud of. We've had less accidents because of the due diligence of our highway foreman and his staff. And I'm going to make the motion to authorize the manager to sign the upcoming agreement. Unfortunately, because if we relied on the state to take care of the ice and snow removal, we would be in dire straits. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. I know, Karen, you may have had questions on this.
Yeah, I was just trying to verify the amount of the payment per lane mile, and I believe there's some question, and we were going to verify the amount before we go ahead with this.
Correct. I put a call into the administrator of the DOT, but he was not available to get back to me today. As you see, the lane mile charge went down by $3 a mile. Last year was $1,560, but this goes back to the 2014 winter season. It doesn't cover us for this current winter season that we just got out of for 14-15. So the payment is a lump sum index for the prior winter's operations. That's how it's adjusted. It's within $50 of what it was for the 2012-13 season.
Are you concerned about the actual lane miles that we?
No. It was just how much we were getting compensated per lane mile and whether it went up or down.
Well, it's never enough.
Clearly.
Is there a motion?
I have a
There's a second.
motion. There is a motion and a second.
Yes.
Are there any additional questions? If not, Mr. Fiala?
Mayor Sindrich?
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Marcus?
Aye.
Trustee Farber?
Aye.
Trustee Schlemmer?
Aye.
Trustee Grunthal?
Aye.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is E, resolution to adopt the budget for the fiscal year commencing June 1st, 2015 through May 31st, 2016. We've had a host of debates. There is a few modifications to the budget, and right now, we're well within the tax cap, and I think the tax rate increase is 2.75 with the levy increase of approximately 2.2%. It's a spending increase of approximately $380,000 and change, and if I'm off a little bit, the treasurer of the village manager can correct me, but that's basically where we're at, and I think it's a modest increase within the scope of the things. In connection with the budget, we are also approving a way to raise revenue in the village with a structural change to our fees that we do collect. That will be part of the budget for this year to compensate for things that have been long overdue in services that we provide. So, Mr. Fiala, this is the village board's budget. If you have any comments this evening, other than what I've just said, you're welcome.
No, Mr. Mayor.
Provide those now.
Mr. Mayor, no, I'm extremely pleased with the board's adoption of the budget, including the modifications that were made to basically the one line across across the board, which was the cost of electrical services that we paid to NYPA when we found out that there was going to be a rate reduction. It allowed the board to cut the budget, cut the tax rate, and basically keep all the other services in line for the coming fiscal year. So I thank you for your support, and I thank all the department heads and the staff that helped put the budget together.
Thank you, Jerry.
Is there a motion to approve the budget for 2015-16 in conjunction with that,
You want
to
us to-
adopt the fee request?
You want me to read this?
If you choose.
All right. I'll read the resolution for the adoption of the budget for the fiscal year of June 1, 2015 through May 31st, 2016. Resolved that the preliminary budget for the fiscal year June 1, 2015 through May 31st, 2016 is further modified by the changes listed on the attached schedule, which we'll have, available for anybody's review. Resolved that the preliminary budget, as amended by the attached changes, shall constitute the adopted budget for the village town of Mount Kisco for the fiscal year, again, of January 1st, 2015 through May 30th. I'm sorry, June 1st through June 1st, 2015 through May 31st, 2016. Resolved that the fiscal year 2015-2016 adopted budget shall include the appropriation of $64,502 from the village's debt service reserve and designated tax stabilization as authorized by Section 6C of the General Municipal Law. And be it further resolved that the Board of Trustees shall levy a property tax of $14,586,780, a tax rate of 97.54533 per 1,000 of assessed value on the applicable real property in the village of Mount Kisco, and shall levy a special assessment property tax of $109,631 on the applicable real property tax covered by such area. So, Mr. Mayor, I put that forth as a resolution and make a motion that we pass the budget
I'll second that with the, and I'd ask
and
that...
the fee schedule,
And the fee schedule. also.
subject to, the fee schedule being subject to any further
Changes or
statutory or local ordinances that are required.
I'd just like to incorporate this following language in the resolution that it's, for me, I will vote on the budget, but I do not endorse or authorize any additional full-time positions be created without further review by the entire village board. And my reason for that is I'm not in the, I don't think any of us are in the position to grow government, and I, for one, have to be convinced that changing a position from part-time to full-time is in the best interest of the taxpayers. Then I'll second that if that's acceptable.
That's fine with me. I mean, I think, just to iterate the way I look at it similar to you, it just, to me, is just a matter of whether or not we're getting value in return, you know, for what we're expending, whether
Right,
it be a
exactly.
full-time versus part-time, and we just don't want to relinquish the opportunity to authorize or not authorize that if and when that comes into play.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. On the question?
Deputy Mayor Marcus?
Aye.
Mayor Sindrich?
Aye.
Trustee Farber?
Aye.
Trustee Slammer?
Aye.
Trustee Grunthal?
Yeah, I'm very pleased with this budget, and thank you, Jerry, for everything you've done on this. Thank you, Bob. And yes, I certainly vote yes.
And Trish?
Thank you, Bob.
And all the ladies in the office.
All of them.
Paula and Joe Sertan.
Jerry. Whoever I'm missing. Sorry.
Well, each and every department head contributed
Yes.
to this. They understand that it's been a very difficult economy since 2008. There is an effort throughout Westchester County and the entire state of New York, if not the entire country, to consolidate efforts. And I'm very proud to say that the majority of our employees and department heads are convinced with the credo that I've set forth, that we're doing more with less. It's a very intriguing time for government. We have no idea where retirement and benefit rates are going, where health insurance rates are going. It's a very fluid burden that's on each and every community. And I, for one, I'm impressed with the work this particular interim manager did, Mr. Fiala, and I'm equally impressed with the work of Joe Saratani and Bob Wheeling and Trish Lepore, and like I said, all of the department heads. It was very time-consuming. I know it wasn't a labor of love. It's a real challenge. So thank you all. Okay, payment of the bills, general senior nutrition, water, sewer, library, and capital project funds.
Most of the questions were already answered by email.
Any additional questions? If not, is there a motion to approve the bills?
I make a motion that we approve the bills
I'll
for the month
second
of
that.
February and March.
I'll second that
Second.
motion. I'll second that motion.
On the question, Mr. Fiola?
Trustee Farber?
Aye.
Trustee Schleimer?
Aye.
Trustee Grunthal?
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Marcus?
Aye.
Mayor Sindrich?
Aye. Okay, approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of April 6, 2015.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Yeah, I'll second that.
On the question, Mr. Fiola?
Deputy Mayor Marcus?
Aye.
Trustee Farber?
I abstain, I wasn't here.
Trustee Schleimer?
Aye.
Trustee Grunthal?
Aye.
Mayor Sindrich?
Aye. We've had a lengthy bit of public comment. If there's additional public comment, we'll entertain that at this time. If not, I'll entertain a motion to close.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all for being here this evening.